Texas is on a break this week, on a bye week. We are not. What does Texas need to do this bye week? We will find out. Washington State seeing their playoff hopes demise, potentially. And the Cowboys, they're 3-0. But are they for real this year? Feasted on the NFC East thus far. And a huge announcement coming. We got big news. This is the 1-0 Sports Show.
Finally 1-0, finally riding for the brand, although Tom Herman did say they were 1-0 10 times last season.
Feinbaum, I'll give him like half a point.
Dude, you like okay. Feinbaum way too much.
Yeah, all right. I'm like I'm the Feinbaum of this show.
By the way, that looks Ohio State. Is that an omen? Give me that Longhorn hat.
Oh man!
Hook him, baby.
All right, he's pulling the torso.
Hello and welcome in to the 1-0 Sports Show. I'm your host, Thomas Fishjoy, alongside by my co-host, Robert Trevino. And what an episode we have in store for y'all. We got Will Bazarski, Turner Barnes, James Grant, all coming up on the show. Big announcements.
Huge announcements.
Huge announcements. But before that, let's get to some of our normal segments. We're going to start with who's hot and who's not.
Classic.
And who's hot right now for me are wide receivers, specifically Devin Duvernay, Terry McLaurin. Let's look at Devin Duvernay, what he has done this season. 39 receptions, 377 yards, 4 touchdowns through 4 games. He has been electric, unstoppable. The fact that the little bubble screen play can work over and over and over again. No one can stop him on that play.
Yeah, it's a run to the outside.
It's a run to the outside. Now, the blocking, the wide receiver blocking has been some of the best wide receiver blocking of any college team I've ever seen. But Duvernay has picked up right where little Jordan Humphrey left off. And it has been perfect, especially with Colin Johnson being banged up. He's played incredibly well. The other wide receiver who's played well, Redskins, my other team. So both my teams. So maybe who's hot
maybe
is
a little
my
biased
team.
here.
Yeah, maybe a little
Your
biased.
teams are a little hot.
It's possible. Well, the Redskins are not hot. But Terry McLaurin is, through his first 3 games, 16 catches, 257 yards, 3 touchdowns, first wide receiver ever with 5+ catches and a touchdown in his first 3 games. So, the Redskins might have trouble everywhere other than McLaurin.
Yeah.
But there's a little bit of hope.
Wide receiver.
Little bright spot.
Big position.
Big position. All right, let's get to my who's not of the week. This one's hard. This one's hard for me on a personal level. Washington State, the Fighting Mike Leaches. Wow.
You hate to see it.
You hate to see it. Last week against UCLA, they led 49-17. They blew a 32-point lead, 6 turnovers. Isn't that crazy? 6 turnovers in the game. Couldn't tackle. Let UCLA back into this game. And this was not a good UCLA team.
No, it's not.
I mean, people were talking about this UCLA team as one of the worst in Power 5. And Washington State comes into this game undefeated, looking good. College football playoff hopes possible, and now they're gone because UCLA had their biggest comeback since they played the fighting Texas Aggies, Texas A&M Aggies.
Yeah, well, you have 9 touchdown throws. You have 6 turnovers. That's going to end it pretty quickly for you.
All right, Robert, who's hot, who's not?
All right, who's hot for me? NBA Twitter. So you know that it's this peak time of the NBA offseason where Twitter is just getting hyped, and we saw that this week with Markelle Fultz. So Markelle Fultz basically goes into the gym, one of those gyms that you don't miss in.
Right.
And you only
the big rim gym.
The big gyms, and so there's this footage of him just showing off his form right there. People saying it looks a little more normal, like he's making a few threes in a row, so like looking like me at the rec. But like he makes a few, and it's like, this guy's crazy. He's going to go off. His 3-point percentages are going to be so high. Twitter, I love this, but it's time to tone it down. This is where you just know that we've had too much offseason in the NBA.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's more of a hot seat.
It's more of a hot seat. I'm putting them on the hot seat. I'm putting NBA Twitter on the hot seat this week. So it's kind of a who's hot, But it's really like, maybe let's tone it down. Maybe let's calm down. Maybe it's too hot.
Still football season, not basketball yet.
Yeah, speaking of people, I'm going to put him on the hot seat again here. Rex Ryan.
Yep.
I guess he wishes he was on the hot seat because that would mean he had a job.
That's true.
Baker said he does not have a job, quote, for a reason, after Ryan called him overrated. Let's see the clip. Baker.
Whatever. I mean, in the wise words of Freddie Kitchens, if you don't wear orange and brown, you don't matter. And Rex Ryan doesn't have any colors right now for a reason, so it's okay.
Baker taking shots.
Yeah, no, my favorite part of that clip, that Will pointed out on the screen there, was the guy in the background trying to hold his phone sideways.
He knows. He knows.
Yeah.
He's like, this is going viral.
Oh, it's prime content right there. Unfortunately, we didn't use
Big
his
J.
video. But do you agree with Baker Mayfield right there?
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Baker likes to kind of have this back and forth with, you know, he has his back and forth with Colin Cowherd. Now he's kind of going after Rex Ryan. It's kind of his brand.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. These guys are going to, you got to realize, and I think he does, I think he realizes these guys, their job, they're going to have their opinions. And a lot of times their opinions are just to get ratings.
Yeah.
And a lot of times their opinions are because they're former football coaches, and that means they're probably former football players, and they got a little CTE looking.
That's true, a little CTE for Rex Ryan.
But I think in this, I think, but Baker Mayfield, I think this is Baker just kind of.
Yeah, I think he took offense because it's Rex Ryan. At
Yeah.
least Colin Cowherd, like, what's he done? Averaged 2 points in high school, or was that Skip Bayless? I don't remember. Either way, I think he's fine to do it. Yeah.
I think he's fine to do it. But I think as long as you're not escalating it, as long as it's like, this happened, response, we're over it.
Yeah, and it's a pretty good flame job by Baker Mayfield there.
Well done. Well done. All right, let's go ahead and delete your Twitter. And this is for Aaron Calvin, a writer for the Des Moines Register. So probably have heard at least the beginning of this story. A guy named Carson King goes to Iowa State game day, makes a sign, says Busch Light supply needs replenished, Venmo. Puts his Venmo there. All of a sudden, people start Venmoing him.
Yeah.
So he says on Twitter, I'm Venmoing everything but a case of Busch Light to Iowa Children's Hospital.
Great move.
He ends up raising a ton of money. Both Busch Light and Venmo match that.
Yeah.
He's raised over $1 million.
Huge. From one sign.
From one side.
Yeah.
So the Des Moines Register decides, let's do a feature on this guy.
Okay. That's
Normal.
That's fair.
Let's do a normal story
That's a fair
on a guy, again, who raised $1 million, over $1 million, for Iowa Children's Hospital.
All right, do a feature.
Well, unfortunately, it's 2019.
It is 2019.
And he had to scroll. First of all, I don't know if y'all have ever scrolled through Twitter. It takes a while to scroll, like a week.
Oh.
This guy scrolled back to 2012 when Carson King was 16 and said 2 racist tweets, which King
So they got him.
said, they got him. King came back and said he regretted it and apologized. So they tweet this out and say, like, we're not going to run this story, like a big picture. And then the rest of Twitter did some investigative journalism of their own. Found out that Aaron Calvin had dozens of tweets with racial and all kind of other inappropriate slurs on it.
So Twitter investigating again. So
Twitter investigating again.
TBI,
Cancel
the
culture
Twitter,
at its finest.
Ooh, that's crazy.
But it was the reporter who was on this story who dug up the tweets who had even worse tweets.
Yep. So that is a very legitimate. Go ahead and delete your Twitter. Literally delete your Twitter. That is unfortunate.
All right, Paul Feinbaum of the week. Robert has not seen this.
I have not.
So this was Barry Trammell, sports writer, talker, came on the Paul Feinbaum show. There's this reaction.
There's no way.
Listen to this. Look at this top 10.
California.
Auburn, LSU, California, Georgia, Clemson, Georgia, Wisconsin, Florida, Iowa, USC, Kansas State.
You know,
Look, Auburn, okay, LSU, fine. California?
Yeah.
This is a team that beat UC Davis by like 7 points.
No, you know what I think
Then they
happened?
beat Washington, and then they beat North Texas by 7 points.
I don't think he's seen any rankings or anything. I think he's just seen like 5.
He said it was an eye
college football games.
test.
Yeah, I think
I
that's
have
just 'cause
eyes.
his eyes only
I can
seen, like,
read
10
beating
games.
UC Davis by 7 points.
I think his eyes have only seen 10 games, and he's just going with the teams that he's seen. He reminds me, I think these rankings would be the same as if I went to my 5-year-old cousin, showed him some football for like 5 hours every Saturday, and then said, "What are your rankings?"
And I get to an extent, like
Kansas State.
At least they're all undefeated teams.
Okay.
You know, at least he's not. But look, this is. I hate when people do this and they're like, oh, you know, why are we putting these teams at the top? Look, Alabama has looked good. You have some overrated teams. Michigan, they didn't belong. They got moved out. Alabama has looked good. Clemson has, I mean, they've won and they've taken care of business. Yeah. California has not taken care of business. Yeah. Florida looked terrible against Miami. They haven't looked good in the rest of their wins. Their starter quarterback is out. Iowa only beat Iowa State, who we don't know how good they are. USC, I said they're all undefeated. USC isn't even undefeated.
No.
They're playing with the third-string quarterback.
There's no way anyone
Kansas State beat Mississippi State. Yeah, I mean.
Yeah. There's no way anyone can sit here and say USC is a better football team than Alabama.
Yeah.
That was the most ridiculous thing that I've
ever heard. That's like objectively false.
Not true. Objectively not true.
Objectively false. Will Bazarski in the back is he cannot believe that, but
it's blasphemy.
He's coming on right after this to talk all sorts of college football stuff. And stay tuned, big announcement coming up next. Welcome back into the 1-0 Sports Show. I'm Thomas Fitch, Robert Trevino, and now joining us, Will Bazarski, host of Bizarre Sports Radio.
Welcome in.
Welcome in.
Good to be here. You know, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
It's about time.
Little
about time.
About time. Little radio to TV. You've been on the Thomas Fitch Show.
Yeah.
The one of the podcasts that does not exist
Thomas
anymore.
Fitch.
Hosted by
Hosted by him.
Hosted by Thomas
Hosted by Thomas.
Yeah.
But Will, we've been teasing a big announcement.
Okay.
There were eyeball emojis on Twitter. Some random Texas account gave us like a little that emoji. I think he thought we were
I think James is
tweeting
waiting for us to announce it.
Yeah, I think people think we're tweeting about a recruit.
Yeah, we have people recording this announcement right now.
Will, tell us what's going on.
Let's hear it.
Well, you got College Game Day on Saturdays.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, we do.
And now you have, we don't know what the name is yet, but the TSTV / KVRX
Texas Student Media
collaboration, Texas Student Media of College Game Day starting this Friday from...
Robert's alarm is going off because
Because it's time.
It's time.
From
a week from now.
9 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Fridays. We got College Game Day style show.
Which means that the 1-0 show will be 8 to 9, which means to basically my parents who watch this show live,
yes,
you get to sleep in another hour.
Let's
and
go.
I get to sleep in another hour. And you get to sleep in an hour.
Which means,
and you get to sleep in another hour.
This is huge for the history of the show because this is the last 7 a.m. episode.
Last 7 a.m. episode ever. You hate to see it.
We enjoyed getting up at 7, but we'll see you an hour later.
We get up at 5.
We get up at 5. Day starts
Chick-fil-A is open either way.
Chick-fil-A is open either way,
and they're doing it until 10:30.
So next week, that is, we'll have all more announcements on Twitter, but this is big time. This is big time.
It's gonna be fun.
It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. So
I heard you're gonna be wearing a suit.
We may have to little. I think Will he's coming on the show. He's like, man, what are these guys?
We'll get some
like
more eyeball emojis about that if that's gonna happen.
More eyeball emojis. All right, so let's talk some football. Texas 3-1, going into the bye week. What are your thoughts? Pleased, displeased? How are you feeling?
3-1. You know, I'll take that. That one loss to a very good LSU team.
Very good LSU team.
And
according to Barry Trammell, the number 2 team in the nation. Which actually, honestly, could be fair.
That is true.
No,
like
they could be up there.
And you look at that game, and if you dissect that, the offensive line played outstanding. Defensive back, DBU was non-existent.
Yeah, on either side.
I really wasn't too impressed with their play throughout the game. And if that's a bad game for us, I will take that every single time. Because you're not going to... if you're going to play like that against LSU and you're not going to play well, imagine when you play up to the standards. It's going to be unbelievable. Right. And it's going to hurt, though, now because you have so many guys out. Caden Stern's out for 4 weeks.
Yeah. Jalen Green.
It's going to be tough.
Yeah. Well, and, for me, coming off that game, I'm thinking, like, the secondary is going to cause problems the rest of the season. Like, it's going to be a shootout every game. But then you see Joe Burrow, what he's done the next 2 weeks, ran at Northwestern State, but then tearing up Vanderbilt, a conference opponent. And then Texas does a good job of shutting down Oklahoma State for the most part. You look at holding Tylan Wallace under 100 yards. So they've shown that it was just the fact that Joe Burrow is actually one of the best quarterbacks in the country.
And that offense they're running is
it's incredible.
It's funny, you look at their offense and it looks identical to a Big 12 style offense.
Yeah.
And my theory is it's going to expose these dominant SEC defenses. Because if you look at the overall talent of the SEC on the offensive side, it's more pro style offenses, NFL style. But now you got a fast tempo, up-paced LSU offense competing against a defense like that. It's going to be tough, especially when they're on and off the field constantly.
Yeah.
It's going to be high-scoring games in the SEC, and you're not going to see that. You're going to see it more this year than you have in the past.
Yeah, because up until now we've been told the lie, which is that the SEC has better defenses, when in reality the SEC just has worse offenses.
Worse offenses, and it's slower offense. I think that's another thing that people don't talk about is you slow down the play, and there's just going to be less points in general.
And there's one idea of slowing down an offense, and you saw it against Oklahoma State, which is you don't have to snap the ball every 3 seconds.
Right.
Take your time. They developed the running game very well. Rashawn Johnson, Keontae Ingram. I mean, these guys are talented, talented players that we have here at the University of Texas, and just letting them hand the ball off to them, let them run.
Yeah.
And you can throw the out route that you were talking about. Devin Duvernay, just unbelievable on the outside. Yeah. And of course, across the middle, I don't think no drops this season from him.
Yeah.
He's had a year that no one was really expecting.
Yeah.
And then you forget to mention, you still have Jake Smith.
Still have Jake Smith.
Colin Johnson. Brennan Eagles. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. This team is the depth at wide receiver is unlike anything we've seen
Drew
before.
Maringer is. I mean, I think I've said it before. That guy's going to be an offensive coordinator.
I gave him a lot. A couple of years ago when he came over from Rutgers after I think it was 2-11 there, and then the first year in the offense it was the typical Greg Davis throws outside. That never worked. Yeah. Now they're working.
We're like, what is Tim? I was like, what is Tim Beck doing? What is this offense doing? They've figured it out, and I think that's one reason why, as fans, we tend to overreact way too soon. And we're going to talk about coaches on the hot seat a little bit, but you got to give coaches time to fully put their plan, put their playbook, and develop that. And it takes more than a year, and we've seen that with Tim Beck, and now year 3, how it's taken them 3 years to fully get the offense clicking, but they're now firing on all cylinders, and they're almost unstoppable.
Because sometimes it takes you more than a year just to find your guy.
Yeah.
You can't find a great staff all in 1 year. You have to add it over time.
Yeah.
We talked about depth, though, Will. What do you think is the worst concern for Texas? Would it be on the running back side, or would it be on the defensive back?
You know, it's funny you say that. After Ingram went down, I was really worried about running back. And then Rashawn Johnson stepped up. I'm not worried anymore. We got Keontae Ingram. We have Rashawn Johnson, Sam Ellinger,
Daniel
Jones, Daniel Young.
Kirk Johnson is coming back.
I
mean, you had that.
And Jay Witt is supposed to be healthy for West Virginia.
So now you look at the defensive side of the ball. Jalen Green, Caden Stearns, and we can mention more, but those are 2 guys who are the starters.
Yeah.
And now you got to find somebody who's going to step up. And great week for a bye week. This was the most appropriate time. We learned that Ellinger was dealing with some rib injuries these last couple of weeks.
But it didn't seem to affect him.
Right.
I mean, if that was Ellinger with a rib injury.
Minor rib injury.
Oh, I mean,
what is he going to be like with healthy ribs?
He didn't play very well. He had an interception for the first time. That's a big deal.
Speaking of that, grade Sam through 4 games, and do you think that he should be given? Like, do you think he's been given enough Heisman attention, or should he have more?
I'm very happy with the attention he has now. There's no reason to push it. This Texas team is a team. It's not a one player. It's not Oklahoma Jalen Hurts.
I agree.
It's not the Jalen Hurts show here or the Sam Ellinger show. This is the Texas show. Offensive line plays outstanding. Ellinger plays outstanding. The running backs play outstanding. Wide receivers. I mean, the whole dynamic of the team is a team game. That's what they're playing. Unlike you see across the country, where at Wisconsin, who are you talking about? Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
Texas, you're talking about Ellinger. I mean, the list goes on.
Ellinger, Cosby.
The list goes on.
Talk people on the defense.
Yeah.
And then at Alabama, who are you talking about mainly? Tua.
Trevor Lawrence at Clemson, which we're going to talk about later.
I would say the only team like close to Texas would be maybe Clemson. You have those other
Travis
Yeah,
Etienne.
You got
and
Etienne,
you're
you
talking
got their
about
defense,
But for the
but-
most part, teams are like one player.
And that's I agree. I think that's so true, and that's why Ellinger hasn't gotten as much Heisman consideration, is because he doesn't have to do he doesn't have to do everything because he has so many weapons. And that was a great point on the offensive line. They have played incredible.
I mean, you look at, I'm looking at the stats right now
Yeah.
for Oklahoma State. 20 for 28, 281 yards. When you look at a guy like Ellinger, you're expecting that 300, 400-yard threshold.
Yeah.
20 of 28, I'll take every single time. That's quality passes, 10 yards per throw, 4 touchdowns, about 1 interception. The quality of plays that this offense is running is why they're so successful. And
Efficient.
they don't need him to throw the ball 45, 50 times.
No.
Because when you're doing that, that means you have no ground game.
Yeah.
And you're giving up on your ground game.
Their drives are so surgical. They run the ball, they do those bubble screens, slants, and the next thing you know, it's a deep pass.
One concern I did have after LSU was the 5 yards goal line, like 5 yards to the goal line. That I thought was they need to work
there's
on.
2
They
chances
started to
right
work
there
on
at
it,
0 points.
and now we got to work on not muffing punts.
Yeah.
And not trying to make top 10 plays
Yeah.
that you see.
Win the game.
Yeah, it feels like there's been something like that every week.
It's not
where
Minute Maid
can we
Park,
not
center field.
convert
Right.
within 5 yards. Next week, it's can we field the punt? What's it going to be next week? You know, you have to cut that out and play an
We
A
have
game.
some healthy players of this.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
So you trade the running back position for the DB
Yeah.
position.
All right, final question
Okay.
before we let you go. What is your prediction for the rest of the season?
I gotta look at the schedule, but I think they go on the road, take care of business at West Virginia.
Yeah.
Oklahoma is gonna be the biggest test of the season. The only other true test is at Iowa State.
Iowa State.
I do remember a story a few years back when Tyrone Swoops actually walked onto the field, looked at the grass at Iowa State, and just stood there. And Charlie Strong said, "Well, there it is. That was a game right there."
Yeah.
And they can't be intimidated going into those grounds because you really never know with Iowa State.
Yeah.
Sure, they won by 3
In overtime.
Overtime.
And then they close game against Iowa.
Right.
Matt Campbell's a great coach.
They got
Brock Purdy's just got to
punt
find his
returns
footing.
again. They got to work on.
They got both
So
teams.
those are the 2 teams I'm really worried about.
Yeah.
I think they win out from there.
They went out from
Went
there.
out?
You see a college football playoff berth in their future?
If they beat OU, then they're gonna have to, of course, beat OU probably in the Big 12 championship game. They're gonna have to beat OU twice in order to get there. I don't think there is any other team that's gonna compete with Texas and OU, besides maybe Iowa State, who beats one or the other.
Yeah. So you're saying Texas is winning it all?
Sure, why not?
Sure.
Will Bazarski saying Texas is going to win it all, Will.
National
Don't
champion.
put words in my mouth.
Thanks for joining us. No more words for you. We're going to end it there. But again, remember, new College Game Day show. Stay tuned for announcements on that. When we come back, we got Turner Barnes, James Grant, and so much more. Stick around.
Welcome back into the 1-0 Sports Show. We're here in the locker room.
locker room.
Joined alongside
First time.
Thomas and special guest Turner Barnes. So let's get into the segment, Overrated.
By the way,
Let's
air conditioning in this locker room
Feels great.
feels fantastic.
feels
There will be no
fantastic.
cramping on this show.
It feels
No,
about
absolutely
74
not.
degrees, but that's a very reasonable temperature.
Good amount. Good amount.
Okay, so let's get into some overrated talk.
Overrated question mark.
Overrated question mark. Now, number 1, the Dallas Cowboys.
Dallas Cowboys. Tony, you
Dallas
want to start
Cowboys-
this off as our resident,
man.
resident Cowboys fan?
Resident Cowboys fan, how are you
Resident
feeling?
Cowboys. I mean, the Chiefs are my team. Grew up in Dallas though, so got to support the Cowboys.
Yeah.
They're not overrated, and I'll tell you why. Because they're
Please,
one of the best
enlighten
teams
me.
in the NFL on all aspects of the game. The defense is still really good. They're fourth in scoring defense so far this year. The only problem, if you ask me, for the past Dallas Cowboys teams with this Dak Prescott team is Dak Prescott's ability to throw accurate passes, and you're seeing him do that this year. He's second in touchdown passes, second in passer rating, first in QBR. He's made a lot of strides in the offseason this year. You still have Ezekiel Elliott. Ezekiel Elliott's fourth in rushing yards this year, only because they haven't had to use him because Dak Prescott is playing really well. The defense is playing really well. They're destroying teams.
You know-
And they're putting Tony Pollard in.
you know what I
Tony
will
Pollard's
say?
getting legitimate amount of snaps.
You know what I will say? We had this argument last
Yes, we
week,
did, and it
me
was a
and
good one.
Thomas.
Yeah.
I've been a Cowboys hater my entire life.
Yep, as
Every
you should
year,
have been.
every year I hear from Cowboys fans,
Yep.
this is the year. this is the year. And
Don't tell me this is the year.
I never said it was the year.
I'm pointing at Robert right now.
But hold on. This is the year for the Cowboys.
No,
if it's going to be a year, it's going to be this year.
I'll agree with that.
We will
There's going to
see
be
if
a
this
year.
team has the depth and
Do I need to remind y'all? And I'm not saying that this is a bad Cowboys team. Do I need to remind y'all who they've played? I said last week, two of the teams.
That's a good point.
They have.
The Giants.
Okay.
With Eli
Solid
Manning.
team. Daniel Jones, good quarterback.
The R words, the Redskins.
Yes.
And the Dolphins.
But the thing is, they handle all those teams.
Three worst teams. It is like these are the easiest teams. Every team who has played these
besides
teams.
the Raiders.
Besides, every team who has played these teams has looked good.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to look good because these teams suck. And I say that as a fan of one of those three teams. Okay?
They handled them though.
They
didn't go stoop down to the
That's why.
level.
Look, I'm not saying the Cowboys. The Cowboys will make the playoffs. They're a good
for
team.
sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Don't get me wrong here. But a 3-0 start for people to say they're better than the Rams right now. They're better than the Patriots right now. They're better than the Chiefs right now.
Well, no.
That's absurd.
They're better than the Rams, not the other two.
They're not better than the Rams. This is the most overrated 3-0 team
No, but
in
here's the
NFL
thing. They're
history.
They're a top 3 team within the NFC.
They're not a top 3 team.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the
NFC. That's
So
fair.
they don't have to play the Patriots. They don't have to play the Chiefs in the playoffs. That's what I'm accounting for.
The only thing
if they were in the AFC, this would be a different conversation. But
I think they lose in the
They
second
can
round.
definitely make the Super Bowl. I have them losing probably.
So
in the
overrated.
conference
You're saying not
championship.
overrated.
I think
You're
they get
saying
to the
not
conference.
overrated.
I'm saying not overrated, but I'm going to go against your point. This could be the year because I don't think Jason Garrett's the guy that can lead this team to a Super Bowl.
No.
I think that's fair.
You have the talent on the team. You don't have the talent in the coaching staff.
Yeah.
You have Kellen Moore has shown
Yeah.
great strides for this Cowboys offense, and Chris Richard has done a great job with his defense. But the head coach, he's not the guy to take you to the promised land.
All right, so we got 2 not overrated, 1 overrated. Next overrated, Trevor Lawrence. Through 4 games,
T-Law.
7 touchdowns, 5 interceptions.
Well,
How are we feeling?
I think he's overrated, but everybody would be overrated.
Absolutely.
With the media hype that's been
The media
created
hype.
around
I mean,
him.
since before he was in college.
Yeah, I mean that viral video of the Spider-Man guy catching it, that's Trevor Lawrence throwing it to him. And he looks like sunshine. So he's been in movies.
One of the three
He's been in
Hanson
feature
triplets.
films.
Yeah.
He's been on social
Yeah.
media. The guy came in famous.
Yeah.
And then he played great games.
Yeah.
When it mattered.
Won the
on a national
championship
stage.
game.
And so he's going to be overrated. But
Yeah.
I think right now we're kind of seeing like LeBron James MVP style stuff where we've seen him dominate for so long that we're getting tired
So
of
we're
it. We're moving
We're just
on.
kind of comparing, and he's not necessarily moving past it.
Yeah, like Lamar Jackson, you could argue his season after his Heisman was better than his first Heisman season, but you get
Was it
tired
new?
of seeing that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good point, but
say he's overrated.
his season this year isn't as good as his season last
Yeah.
year. Just objectively. I mean, he came in somewhere in the middle of the season, and he balled out. Won the national championship, and now teams have film on him. They can
Yeah.
see where his weaknesses are. It's kind of like an RG3 kind of rule. I know RG3 got hurt in the NFL, but the
that's-
sophomore
yeah.
slump, people are going to get film on you. They're going to understand, all right, this is what he does well. This is how we can attack him. So I don't know if overrated is the right word. I guess from the media's perspective, he is overrated. But I think he's still a very good quarterback. He still has the potential to be the #1 pick in the draft
Yeah.
whenever he chooses to leave.
Yeah.
As soon as he goes, he could be the first pick in the draft. So in that sense, I don't think he's overrated. But I think people need to lower their expectations because you can't have as good of a season he had last year every single year.
I agree. But yeah, I agree with all of that. I'm going to say he's overrated too. But
There's nothing wrong with that.
there's nothing wrong with that. And
That's good.
I've said this, and we'll get to my predictions in a little bit, that I think Clemson's a little overrated.
I agree with that.
And a lot of that is because of this. Everybody's saying Trevor Lawrence is the best quarterback ever coming into the season, and then he shows up, and he's not the best quarterback ever.
Yeah. Not the
But-
best quarterback this year.
No.
It's their defense that's been
Yeah.
doing everything and has been really impressive. So I think 3 overrateds.
Yeah.
Let's get to our last one,
that's
Notre
okay.
Dame.
That's okay, Trevor.
The classic, cliche, always overrated team. They lost to Georgia. Are they overrated?
I feel like this is kind of the public reckoning where we're kind of realizing what Notre Dame is. And they are a team that gets super hyped up because they were good in the past. They schedule some good teams. If they win their first couple games, the hype starts building
Yeah.
and building. Notre Dame occupies this weird portion of college football where it's like only Notre Dame can operate there, which is that if they go 12-0, they will get a spot in whatever championship system we have, and if they don't go 12-0, they'll go play in some bowl for military teams.
Yeah.
That's what Notre Dame football is. You win them all, you go play for the title. You don't, you play in a military bowl.
Well, you win them all, you go to the title, you get blown out.
You get blown out because you can't play
out.
against real teams because you only play others.
So you're saying overrated.
Oh, I'd say they're about rated where they are.
They're about rated?
I think people are starting to wake up to the Notre Dame.
See, here's my thing. I honestly, maybe for the first time ever, don't think this Notre Dame team is overrated. And I thought so hear me out. Going into the Georgia game, I thought this team is overrated. I thought Georgia was going to win big. Then Notre Dame comes in. I don't know if y'all saw the game. One of the most incredible game day atmospheres, from what I've heard. That place was rocking. And they lose by 6 points to a good Georgia team. So to me, they're not overrated. Now, I don't know if I don't think they're a college football playoff winning team. But I think to say that they started the year 7, I think they finished the year about at that point. I don't think they have I mean, I think Georgia's the toughest team remaining on their schedule. And so I think that helps. But I don't think they're overrated at all.
I don't know. I think just by the book definition of overrated, I think Texas should be ranked ahead of them. So in that sense, I definitely think they're overrated. I think Texas would mop the floor with this Notre Dame team. And if your claim to not being overrated is, oh, we hung well with this team for a long time, then you're overrated.
Yeah, I think Mike Leach had an interesting quote at Texas Tech about playing them close. I think he said something interesting about playing them close.
Yeah.
You play them close, you don't win, it doesn't matter. Winning is winning.
Yeah, what's
As
it called
Vin
when you
Diesel would
almost
say.
win? Oh, yeah.
It's a loss.
Losing.
It is. And I agree with you. But I was just impressed.
Oh, I was definitely impressed with how well they kept it close. They're a lot less overrated than I thought they were, but I still think they're overrated.
All right, let's get to questions from the crowd.
All right.
We'll keep these short and sweet.
All right.
All right.
First one, this one from Derek Duke, not a recurring guest, but a guest and big 1-0 guy.
Yeah.
And he said his question, which of the Texas injuries in their secondary? He said out of the 98 injuries, because that's
they're
honestly what it feels
all
like.
over the place.
What's the biggest one?
I think Caden Stearns, no doubt. He's the heart and soul of that defense.
I'm going to go with Jalen Green. You saw Adam Mora play really well whenever his number was called. Cornerback has been the weak position on this Texas team, and then your number one guy goes out. I think Jalen Green is a big deal.
I'm with you on that one because the safety position is strong, and honestly, Caden Stearns hasn't played that great this year. He's missed a lot of tackles, and I do agree with you. He's a big leader on this team. But you also have Brandon Jones, who's the captain of this team, and who every time you talk to a guy, they're just raving about how this guy has stepped into this leadership role.
Yeah.
Plus, Chris Brown. Oh my goodness, that guy.
Where did he come from?
Is playing lights out.
Yeah.
That guy hits like I was expecting B.J. Foster to hit.
Yeah.
So they're taking care of it at the safety position.
Yeah.
And so for me, Jalen Green is pivotal, especially when you look at who's the guy on the other side of him, Kobe Boyce.
Yeah.
Not exactly playing great. So for me, that's the biggest injury. But Caden Stearns, obviously, that's a big one. All right, next question from the crowd. This one from Sean Mapes.
Oh.
Who is the
great Sean Mapes.
TSTV alum.
Who is the
TSTV
we might have to, or actually, sorry, we're gonna go one before that. Riley Neal, former Ball State quarterback,
Jumping the gun.
playing for Vanderbilt against Northern Illinois.
Okay.
Can he get revenge and get a win?
I think they get the dub. Vanderbilt.
They get the dub?
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. I'm going to say yes, too.
I'm with
Y'all
it.
know me. I'm a Commodore guy. I'm a big Vandy guy. Vanderbilt gets the win. Yeah. We'll save Sean Mapes' question for next week. But coming up next, we got our predictions. We got fantasy start and sit. And we got coaches on the hot seat. Stick around. Welcome back into the 1-0 Sports Show. Again, I'm your host, Thomas Fitch, joined by the other host, Robert Trevino. We're going to play a game called Who Gets Fired First? It's week 4. It's already time to talk about who gets fired first. We got 4 coaches we're going to choose from. Chip Kelly at UCLA, Jim Harbaugh at Michigan, Willie Taggart at Florida State, Clay Helton at USC. Robert, who gets fired first?
Well, you know I love playing games with people's jobs and whether or not they're going to lose their livelihood. I love it. I love it. And I think Willie Taggart's going to lose his salary first. I said that with a big smile on my face. I think Florida State's tired of where Willie Taggart has this program. I think, coaches don't get a lot of time to develop. We mentioned this a lot, and that's true. He has had a lot of time, enough for the Florida State boosters to start getting upset at the fact that he's not producing and the fact that Florida State has been a historically great program very recently in terms of college football age. 20 years ago, they were a great program. So I think Willie Taggart is probably going to go first. Chip Kelly, UCLA, still working in progress. Jim Harbaugh, I think they're upset, but, as I said on College Crossfire,
hosted by Turner Barnes.
Their floor is a lot lower. And Clay Helton, I think at USC is, they've had a lot of injuries to battle. They're still working through it. Graham Harrell, offensive coordinator, is looking good. So I think they're going to stick around. But I think Willie Taggart's time is running out.
So I just want to flash back to week 1 when you guaranteed that Florida State would beat Boise State.
I guaranteed that I did. I did.
I picked Boise State.
You did.
And now Boise State wins, and you're saying Willie Taggart should get fired. Just wanted to flash back before I make my prediction.
All right.
Just put it out there.
Just a little reminder.
The person who I think gets fired first. Is Clay Helton.
Ooh.
And it's the reason being is not because of win-loss kind of a thing. They bring in a new AD. Who's the man in waiting? Urban Meyer. Everybody knows it. Why did they fire Lynn Swann? They want a new AD who's going to fire Clay Helton. It's going to happen. If they lose to Washington this week, I think Helton gets fired. You look at the other coaches. Chip Kelly saved his job against Washington State. Jim Harbaugh, look, I know I said I was never going to talk about Michigan again on this show, but Michigan fans, y'all are crazy if you think Jim Harbaugh should be fired.
They're crazy.
Willie Taggart, I don't know who else they go with at this point. I think so. As far as that's concerned, I think Willie Taggart gets fired at the end of the season. Clay Helton gets fired during the season.
That's fair. Clay Helton I'd put at number 2. So let's get into some fantasy football advice. I'm 2-1. Thomas is 2-1 as well. So we got some good fantasy teams here.
Oh, wait, I'm 3-0.
Oh, you're 3-0.
I'm 3-0.
3-0. You've been going 1-0 for 3 weeks in a row.
1-0, 3 weeks in a row.
All
Thank
right.
you. Good correction.
So let's get into our start-sit. Thomas, who are you starting?
Who am I starting? I talked about this guy earlier, Terry McLaurin. Redskins receiver, 16 catches, 257 yards, 3 touchdowns through 3 games. The rookie playing off the charts. Go ahead and start him. Playing the Giants, not a great secondary.
Yeah, well, you are biased towards your R words.
I am biased.
Your R words. I'm going to go start Daniel Jones. Matthew Marinchak, come at me, because after trashing Daniel Jones all week, I said start Daniel Jones. He threw the ball 36 times last week, and that was with Saquon. Washington's defense, I'm going to roast him here.
Go for it.
20th in the pass. They're 0-3, and they're failing because Dan Snyder, he sucks.
He sucks. I agree.
So I think he goes off this week.
I agree.
Who are you not buying this week?
Who am I not buying? Telling you to sit Marquise Brown. Last week, 2 receptions for 49 yards. They're going up against a pretty formidable defense with the Browns. Good secondary there. I just think there was a little bit too much hype. People kind of figured him out. Go ahead and sit him.
Yep. Not believing in Hollywood, neither am I. I'm going to say sit Devontae Freeman. He's on my roster. I'm going to be sitting him this week. Tennessee's run defense is really good. They only allowed 88 yards to the Jaguars last week, and that is the Jaguars. But that Tennessee front is pretty strong. So I think if you have Devontae Freeman and you have a pretty solid running back behind him, go ahead and sit Freeman this week. This will be a good one.
So there's our fantasy advice. Coming up next, the board is filled out again, and James Grant going to join the show for some college game predictions. I'm not going to say the other word because of copyright issues. Stick around. Show for the last time on this Friday morning. It's the last part of the show, which means it is prediction time. Robert, let's go ahead. We're going to go 1-1, 2-2, 3-3, 4-4. Little different style, but let's go to our board. Let's go to our board. Coming in at number 1, same team that has been there since week 1. Alabama. Again, nothing to prove otherwise. Got the Crimson Tide.
Still buying the Alabama hype.
Still buying the Alabama
hype. I am not. I think Clemson is still the #1 team in the country, so I'm going to have them at 1.
So you got Clemson at number 1 for the first time. Number 2, new team, Ohio State. Tell you what, Justin Fields, the real deal.
All right. We're reminding each other of week 1 takes. I want it to be known that he had Michigan up on this board on week 1.
It's true.
So
I got nothing else to say. It's true.
when we're at expose old takes on that one,
Yeah,
Alabama,
yeah,
number
that's
2, still the second best team in the
All
country.
right, number 3, Clemson. I know I said Trevor Lawrence is overrated. What is not overrated? Their defense. Also, they got the easiest remaining schedule. Clemson, number 3.
All right, so some respect for Clemson here.
Some respect.
I had in the notes that Ohio State was number 3. I think now that I'm standing here, Oklahoma is number 3.
Boo!
They're a great team.
Boo!
Great team with a great chance. They're likely going to run the table this year in the Big 12.
All right, number 4. There was a number of teams that could have fit in this position. Could have gone with Georgia. Could have gone with Wisconsin. But that would have meant that I would have had to go to FedEx, print out some more stuff, laminate some more stuff. And I also believe that LSU is quite frankly a better team than those other 2 teams. I know I don't know if the SEC West is going to get 2 teams out, but for the time being, LSU is the fourth best team in the country.
All right, and I revealed my pick earlier, but I'm just going to reiterate Ohio State looking great. Justin Fields really living up to all that hype. And as I try not to knock the board over, I got Ohio State.
There they are.
That
They're the
finishes
teams.
up.
Let us know in the comments, like and subscribe, and let us know what you think about those. All right, now joining us, James Grant. Come on the show. Make some predictions with us.
Coming in.
It's been too long, man.
It's been too long. All right,
Happy to be here.
James.
See you guys.
Huge.
Welcome on. And
make some picks.
before we get to those picks, let's look at how Robert and I have done the last week.
Robert is not doing well.
Robert's
I am-
not doing
I
great.
am not doing well. I'm 18.
Really was not a
22.
great week for either of us.
No.
At least I'm over 500.
That's true.
That's
and
all that matters.
in the spread, you're 12-8, and I'm
12-8, pretty good against the spread.
9 and 11. So my spread pick's not very good.
Yeah.
But you'd be batting pretty well.
I would be batting.
I think you'd be up a few units.
Now, here's what you have to compete against, James.
All right.
Get some ground to make up.
Last
Yeah.
week, when
We had
Jay was
Jay on.
on, he went
yeah.
7-2-1.
And on the outright games,
That's tough.
5 and
5-0 on the outright.
Wow.
It was an incredible.
Cleaned house.
I hope he
Incredible.
parlayed. I hope he parlayed.
All right, so Robert,
Wow.
get us started. First spread game, number 12 Penn State, 6.5-point favorite against Maryland. Who you got?
I like Penn State here. I think this line is really weird, honestly. I think Penn State's going to handle Maryland.
Yeah, I also am with the Nittany Lions. I mean, they've had a couple close games to start the season, but I really like their quarterback up there, James Franklin, big James Franklin guy. So I think they're going to go into Maryland and take down the Terps. Close game, though.
If I know one thing about Maryland, you don't want to play them week 1. Other than that,
We know that all too well.
fair game. I'm taking Penn State minus 6.5.
All right. Over to the Pac-12, maybe
Yep.
after dark, maybe not. California
Yep.
versus Arizona State. Who do you got?
You know, I'm going to go Arizona State. I know California, Barry Trammell
Barry
has them in
Trammell, number 3.
his top 5, which is all well and good to Barry Trammell, but we're going to keep it real here. I love what Herm Edwards is doing over there in Tempe. Really like the Sun Devils. They
Yep.
went to Michigan State. Won a big game there on the road. I'm impressed with what I've seen. I'm going Arizona State.
Great pick.
Let's go. Great pick. Thomas?
I got Arizona
with
State.
you.
I know. I got Arizona State. And here's why. Here's why. I brought this up earlier. Let's look at what Cal's done. They beat UC Davis by a touchdown.
Okay.
They beat Washington. Yeah, it was a good one by 1. They beat North Texas by a touchdown. This team doesn't belong in the top 4, and they're not going to belong in the top 25 after this week when Arizona State beats them.
Not so fast, my friend. Not so fast. Because, you know, football is unpredictable. And so the fact that they beat UC Davis by a touchdown means that they're going to come out this weekend and destroy Arizona
That was week
State.
1.
I don't like Arizona State. I don't like Tempe. I don't believe in Herm Edwards.
Got bad water.
California.
They got their water, their taste terrible.
It does. It does.
All right, number 6, Oklahoma, 27.5-point favorite at home against Texas Tech. Big noon kickoff on Fox. Who you got?
Big noon. And I think this is
11 o'clock for you.
this is a big throttling coming Texas Tech's way. I got Oklahoma winning by at least 40.
Yeah, Alan Bowman, Texas Tech's starting quarterback at the beginning of the year. He's out with an injury. Don't really know when he'll return, but that definitely hampers Texas Tech's already slim chances of beating OU up in Norman. So Jalen Hurts, I mean, they've been lighting it up. When have they not been a 20-point or more favorite this season. So I think Oklahoma wins big. I think they're going to cover the spread. So
Good pick.
Good pick.
Good pick.
Again.
Look, Gus Johnson, Joel Klatt on the call. The only name, only stats they didn't look up. Only name they didn't remember, Jalen Hurts, because all afternoon long, all they're going to be saying, Jalen Hurts, touchdown.
Jalen.
No Alan Bowman, Oklahoma covers the spread.
sorry.
All right, let's go from the Pirates old school to the Pirates new school. Mike Leach, Washington State, taking on Utah, coming off of that loss. Utah, 5.5-point favorites. Who y'all got?
I think Washington State, that's a tough loss to come off of. I mean, being up, 30 points, 30-plus points, turning the ball over in the fourth quarter, UCLA coming back. That's a hard one to get over. The Utes. Also, I love head coaches. You'll find out pretty fast. Kyle Whittingham, great coach. I think the Utes are trending in the right direction, and they've got a pretty good dual-threat quarterback, too, over there. So I got the Utes. Another close game, but I think the Utes are going to squeak it out. So.
Not so fast. We finally disagree.
Knew it was coming.
Washington State coming off a tough loss. Mike Leach isn't going to lose 2 games in a row. They're at home. I got the Cougars.
Yeah, I can't believe you said you had a thing for head coaches, and I was like, oh, is he going for Wazoo? The greatest coach of all time.
The content, the
better
Twitter
than Tom
content
Landry,
is
better than Tom
unmatched.
Landry, better than Nick Saban, better than Bill Belichick, just because
wow.
he's a great internet meme.
Yep.
That automatically
Who
makes
also
him
can
better.
coach well.
Yeah.
Exactly,
Oh, he
yeah.
coaches incredibly. Hal Mummy.
Not bad.
Shout out to the air raid offense. Just wanted to say that, and shout out to Wazoo once they cover this spread.
That's right. Could be a high-scoring game, too.
Oh, I definitely will be.
All right, number 5, Ohio State, 17.5-point favorite. This is a college game day game, but I figured there's no way we were going to pick this outright because it was going to be way too easy. Playing Nebraska, 17.5-point spread. James, who you got?
I got the Buckeyes, plain and simple. I think that they're just too much. I think Nebraska is still in a period of transition. I think they're getting there. They're another team that's trending in the right direction. But I think Justin Fields has been playing lights out early on. That Ohio State defense looks legit. Chase Young, you got some first-round talent, early-round NFL talent on that defense. Love what Ryan Day's doing up in Columbus. I don't think Nebraska has the weapons. Taylor Martinez, great quarterback, as y'all know. He can put up some numbers. But and Lincoln's going to be loud. I think it'll be a close game, but I think Ohio State's going to squeak it out by
cover?
at least 13.
They cover?
I don't think it's going to be a
17
cover.
and a half.
No cover.
You know,
I think
cover
it's going to be
Nebraska.
an in-between,
Yeah.
like a 2-touchdown kind of win.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, I think.
So is that Nebraska?
So that's
that's
Nebraska
Ohio
plus
State.
17.5.
Nebraska
We'll
plus
give you half a
17.
win. We'll give you half a win later
Yeah,
if you just choose that one.
I think it'll be a wild atmosphere.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, no, I think Martinez is going to try to come out and do his best, but his best is not good enough. So I think Justin Fields is Justin Fields' time. And the fact that this game is college game day, I think this is a chance for Ohio State to kind of prove its dominance, assert its dominance. So I think Nebraska kind of got hosed a little bit by college game day coming there. I think Justin Fields is going to look to embarrass these cats.
Yeah, week 1, I said Nebraska at 24 was overrated. They were playing Southern Alabama, only won by 2 touchdowns. I got Ohio State right there at 2.
You're 1-0 on that one.
They're covering. They're covering.
All
There you
right,
go.
it's time to go straight up. So Jared went 5-0 in these last week.
Yeah,
So let's see if he can
I'm
replicate
coming
that.
for you.
Let's start in the Big 12. The Cyclones of Iowa State meeting up with the Baylor Bears. Who do you got?
I'm going Iowa State. Love the Cyclones. Love Brock Purdy. I think, like Will said earlier on the show, they're going to be one of Texas's toughest opponents the rest of the way here. So I like the Cyclones in this one.
Great pick. I got Iowa State.
Same here.
Love it.
All right, next game, number 7 Auburn at Mississippi State. Robert, who you got?
Well, this was thrown in because I need a win. I need a win. I'm going to go Auburn.
Big SEC guy.
Huge SEC guy.
I got to agree. I mean, Mississippi State, Tommy Stevens stepped in there. He showed some potential, but Bo Nix, that Auburn defense just looks strong. They're at home. I'm going to give the edge to War Eagle.
Great picks again. Auburn winning this one.
All right, this could be Pac-12 after dark. USC at Washington.
Yeah, this is my upset pit of the weekend.
Wow.
I actually believe the Trojans are going to go to Seattle, get the win. Matt Fink, I mean, he was throwing the ball all over the place versus Utah last Friday night. I really love what I see out of them. USC has a lot more weapons, I think, offensively than Washington. So I think And Washington's defense isn't near as good as they've been. I got the Trojans now.
Not so fast. Washington wins. Clay Helton gets fired.
No, I've got USC here. Every time they
that's
think
brutal.
you're out, you bring them back in. USC.
Hey, we finally disagree on a
I got
pick.
it right there.
Number 18, Virginia at Notre Dame. Robert, who you got?
I am going with the Fighting Irish.
Fighting
on
Irish.
this one. They're going to bounce back.
James?
Yeah, I agree. Notre Dame, I mean, Bryce Perkins, Virginia quarterback, he might keep it close, but I think late in the game, Notre Dame pulls away.
I said Notre Dame, not overrated. They win this one. Virginia's going to fall out of the top 25, and Clemson's going to be the only ACC team ranked.
All right, let's get to the final pick, the one you've been waiting for. Kansas State versus Oklahoma State.
Big 12 matchup.
Huge.
That's right, Battle of the State teams.
Battle of the States.
I saw Oklahoma State in person at DKR last Saturday night. They looked really good. That offense can move the ball, whether it's Hubbard on the ground, Spencer Sanders throwing through the air. I think they're going to take care of business. I think Kansas State is a tough team. This game this is at Oklahoma State.
At Oklahoma State.
So yeah, it's kind of a coin toss game, but since it's at Oklahoma State, I'm going to give the Cowboys the edge.
Good pick. I said Mike Leach isn't going to lose 2 games in a row. Neither is Mike Gundy.
The mullet.
Yeah.
The mullet's getting the win.
You know the only thing more annoying than A&M's band playing in overtime is those orange sticks that they hit against the wall and call tradition at Oklahoma State. That's, I guess, the definition of tradition. You hit sticks against a wall. Okay, I'm going with Oklahoma State. All that said, though.
All right, pretty similar between Robert and I. James, we'll have to see how you do.
I got to be different.
But James, thanks for joining us.
Thank you guys.
We'll see how you can compare to Jay. But that is all we have for you this week. Make sure you tune in next week to our sister shows, College Press Box, Monday nights at 9:30. College Crossfire Wednesday nights at 9, hosted by Turner Barnes. This show next week, remember, 8 to 9, not 7 to 8, and then our new game day style show from 9 to 10 next week. For everybody in studio Master Control, I'm Thomas Fitzgerald alongside Robert Trevino, James Grant. Have a great weekend.